Welcome back to Narrowboat Expats. It has been a long while since the last episode and I apologise for that. It's really hard to get Sheephams to do things sometimes and he just has short legs and finds it difficult to do editing. So I've been encouraging him and he's getting better. But sometimes just life gets in the way. In episode 3 we finished up with the Tewkesbury Medieval Festival. This episode covers our trip from Tewkesbury up the River Severn, through Upton and Worcester onto Stourport. Leaving the River Severn at Stourport, follow along as we head up the Stourport and Worcester Canal to Kinver. Even though there's only 4 travel days, we took almost 2 weeks to do the trip, so we took some time to enjoy the sights. Hello and welcome to another episode of Narrowboat Expats Adventures with Sheephams. I'm Nigel, a British-American expat from Sunderland. My wife and fellow boater Sue hails from Boston, Massachusetts. Along with our faithful companion Sheephams, we're travelling the UK canals in our electric-powered 60-foot narrowboat, Tewkesbury. Follow along with us as we explore the canal network's many engineering marvels and discover the new places to visit just off the towpath. Each year, we visit the UK for just under 6 months and record our adventures. We love our life as Narrowboat expats, and through these videos, we hope you'll get to experience just a touch of the joy, the narrowboat lifestyle, the relaxed pace of life, and the beautiful countryside brings to us. The Narrowboat Expat series follows our adventures as we go from buying a boat to exploring the canals, and all the wonderful people and places along the coast. Some Fenwick fun facts to get started. At 220 miles long, the River Severn is the longest river in Britain. And because the flow of the river is the strongest in the country, I was a little hesitant about going up in our electric power boat, I have to admit. I wasn't at all sure how the electric motor would cope with the strong current. So before we set off, I checked the river flow levels to try and be sure that we could manage the flow. And I asked a lot of the boaters we passed going downstream on the Avon what the Severn was like, and they all reported it was pretty calm at the moment because it hadn't rained much for the past month. So as we headed out onto the Severn and I turned up river, I opened up the throttle to see how she would do against the current. I wanted to see if we'd make decent progress. We did start to pick up some speed, but I have to say the diesel boat that was in front of us just stormed off, and pretty soon she was just a small dot in the distance. How are you doing today, Sue?
I'm just grand.
Feeling good? In your happy place?
I'm in my happy place.
Here's us waiting to get into this rock with 2. Upton-on-Severn is not unlike many riverside towns all over England. A few older buildings sit alongside the more modern structures, which aren't really to our taste. We're much more fans of the old 18th and 19th century architecture. If you're visiting Upton, you'll find a floating pontoon with 2-day visitor moorings just on the northwest side of the bridge. Mooring here is limited to about 4 boats against the pontoon, but you'll regularly see boats breasted up. While in Upton, don't miss the pudding shop. I'll put a link into the description below the video. They do amazing steamed puddings. I'd highly recommend it. We stocked up while we were there, and you can also buy their puddings online. After Upton, we headed up to Worcester and managed to get there just in time to snag the last mooring on the Diggless pontoon above the locks. This is absolutely one of my favourite moorings. It's off the beaten track because it's down onto a pontoon off the pavement, and yet it's still a short walk down the riverbank to the city. Plus, there are absolutely stunning views of the cathedral lit up at night. More Fenwick fun facts. The cathedral dates back to 680, with the oldest surviving structure as old as 1084, when the cathedral was rebuilt. Various extensions and updates were completed in 1374. Another fun fact, King John, that's the bad King John, was buried here in 1216. And if you're lucky, you'll hear a peal of the 15 finely tuned cathedral bells. They are beautiful. Worcester was well known for Royal Worcester porcelain and as a centre of glove making in the UK. Sadly, Much of the medieval historic centre of the city was demolished in the 1950s and 60s to make way for new buildings. But there are still sections of the old city remaining along City Walls Road, Friar Street and New Street. I highly recommend you take the time to go check it out. We stayed a few days in Worcester, spending a couple of extra nights at Diglis Marina at the entrance to the Worcester and Birmingham Canal, which was opened in 1815. A good time to visit Worcester is in August during the Worcester Festival. There's also a weekend music festival and a movie festival. From Worcester, it was a straight shot all the way up to Stourport, where Stourport Basin marks the end of the navigable Severn. Stourport is a quaint little town with good visitor moorings along the side of the canal just past York Street Lock. We stayed in town a couple of days to restock on food. There's a great Tesco store just 10 minutes walk from the lock, so that's really handy. We didn't really have much of a plan leaving Stourport. I figured we'd just see how far we'd get cruising along. I did want to go past Kidderminster because I'd read a lot about it being relatively unsafe for mooring there, particularly near the Tesco at Castle Road. But I've since read posts from other people who've stayed at Kidderminster just fine, so you take your chances, I guess. In the end, we went all the way to Kinver and moored in a fabulous spot across from open sheep fields just above Hyde Lock. That's another one of my favourite moorings. We planned to stop in Kinver just a day or two, but we ended up there almost 2 weeks because Sue came down with a really bad case of flu. In fact, it got so bad, we had to arrange to go see a doctor. And as we didn't want to go and sit in an emergency room, our only option with our travel insurance was to find a private doctor, which ended up being 45 minutes away by taxi. But it all worked out well in the end. We got a prescription for some antibiotics and restocked on medications. While in Kinver, I took some time to explore the area while Sue was laid up in bed. There's a model railway society where you can get rides on miniature trains at weekends. And Kinver is also famous for its rock houses and Kinver Edge, which is fabulous for walking a dog or just going out for a hike if you feel like getting out into the country. Lots of footpaths with great views overlooking the town. Definitely recommended. Don't miss it if you're in Kinver.
You just got to lean on it a little bit.
Just coming into Kinver, the historic village near where we're moored, and you know, it's such a pretty village. I really want to take a quick video to share it with you. Can be pretty busy in the traffic here, even though it's a very restricted main road, but the houses are quite pretty. It's got a chemist, co-op shop, a couple of chippies, a couple of Indian restaurants, and a baker and a butcher. Not sure about the candlestick maker, but we'll see how that goes. Anyway, here's some pictures of the village. You can see the houses coming down the high street here, and it is quite pretty from a point of view of the area around. This is the lock at Kinver. Actually, this is the Vine pub at Kinver. Just right by the lock, so it's a great location. Of course, all of these moorings here are up from here towards the next lock, are all private moorings, so you can't moor here, but you can moor just above the next lock. I'll show you that in a minute. These are the private moorings of Kinver. Actually not bad, they're in between two locks, fairly quiet. Nice quiet canal path and the facilities point in between. Well, at one end of them at least, near the pub. So, pretty good location. Just coming up to Hyde Lock. There are a couple of moorings on the canal, on the port side, left side, coming up to the lock landing stage. It's quite a pretty lock. Correct myself, all those moorings down there are permit holder moorings only. As you come up to Hyde Lock, there's a landing stage, and there are moorings just after the lock. This is a pretty house on the right here, just to the right of the lock. Lovely. Check out the gates. I'll show you a photograph in a second. This is Hyde Lock. And look at these gates here. Aren't they cute? How nice is this spot for mooring? Out in the countryside, we get the morning sunrise coming up over this hill, just to the right. The sheep were out of here all day yesterday, and then we're just round the corner from the lock. So the lock's just round that bend. Really peaceful. The only thing we get is a lot of cyclists and runners going by here, which pounds, funnily enough, you can hear it echoing through the ground. But it's a great spot, very peaceful, and it's only a mile from the village, so it's a nice half-hour walk. If you're in the Kinver area, a must-see is the National Trust Rock Houses. These are houses that are literally carved out of caves in the rock. They've been around for hundreds of years, and there's several houses at the bottom of the cliffs and then a tea room at the top. Well worth a visit.
So it starts out as a natural cave. It's soft sandstone, so they square it up and make it into a room. So this was used as a tea room until 1967, a lock-up tea room. That's where they used to serve people out of. That used to be the hatchway there. So when this closed in 1967, that was the first time this complex of houses had been completely empty. At its peak, there were 11 houses here, 46 people living here, across the 3 levels.
When were they built?
That we don't know. It goes too far back. The earliest record is 1777, but they were well established then. Archaeologists tell us they probably go back hundreds of years before then. In the 15 and 1600s, working class people generally couldn't write. They could read because they wanted to read the Bible,
right?
Because they couldn't write. And those who could write didn't write about the working class, not until Dickens anyway. So the best guess is somewhere 1600s. They used to keep the fire going 24 hours a day. The thing with sandstone is it soaks the water up like a sponge. So I've never seen it drip. If you touch the walls, it's always cool. This is the place to be.
In the summer when it's hot?
Yeah, in a heat wave.
So this is a bedroom?
Yeah. So by the late 1980s, this rock was getting unsafe. And as the landlord, the National Trust had to do something about it. And so they managed to find the money to restore them. So they started at the top in 1990. These were restored in 1993. So that's why this picture came in. This is as it would have been in 1900. So this is Mr. and Mrs. Fletcher, painted in 1900. It's a bread oven. That's the only thing that's original.
Oh, okay.
That's only because they couldn't rip it out.
So the bread oven's in there.
It's where they've installed the bread oven and the fire bricks or what have you.
Right.
So some bread ovens are connected to the fire. This one's not.
So how is that
So they
lit?
would take the ashes out,
Yeah.
put the ashes in there, and then put the dough on top.
Okay.
So as a result, the bottom of the dough was black.
Right.
And this is where the expression, the upper crust, comes from, because you ate the top 3/4 of it.
Oh.
The best bit. Two more houses used to be next door to us.
Okay.
The right-hand one was always the least popular, because it's not got a window, so there's no natural light in there.
So this is. So did they always have the connection between the houses?
No. Wait for it.
Sorry.
This is one house.
Yeah.
That house was the first one to become permanently empty, somewhere about the turn of the 20th century.
Okay.
People who lived here saw the opportunity, dug themselves a tunnel, instant extension. Just help themselves with extra room. A little girl from here used to use that as a playroom, used to put plays on for the kids in the village.
Okay.
And Dad from here nicknamed it the ballroom. It's been the ballroom ever since. Quite striking, isn't it?
Wow.
So this was 2 houses. There's the dividing wall.
Okay.
That's 1 house here, parlour, bedroom going up there.
Okay.
And out the tunnel, this was another bedroom for this house, and their parlour with a fireplace.
So a fireplace there. Would they have had a door here as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
That was the only light they had?
Yes, exactly. And you can't have it open in winter, which
Right.
is why it was always the least popular.
Yes.
But again, the natural cave, and they just squared it to make it room shape. What started out as 3 houses here became 2 houses, and eventually, in the last few years before they were left empty, became 1 house. So they shared a chimney with the house next door that we just see. Their chimney's just through there.
My name's John.
John. Hi, John.
Hello there. And that's Peter.
Hi, Peter.
Hi.
We're in Tewkesbury as well.
Edinburgh.
This is a model that you build, each of the enthusiasts build and maintain,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes.
You built this yourself?
Yeah.
Take a lot of maintenance?
Yeah, you got nobody else to do it for you.
And you run this every weekend in the summer?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, people ride on the train as well, or is it just to watch?
We do, yes. We have public running.
Excellent.
A good weekend, we'll have 700 people here.
Wow. Just tell me a bit about your engine, Paul.
Well, actually, this wheel is loose. If you look there, you can see. Got to get a torch. You'll see oil around the hole
Okay.
where it's been moving. The rest of them have got nothing on them. There's no oil at all. So that's the one that's been moving. See it? See the oil around it. So I've got to lock that wheel up.
So it doesn't. So it's not turning the way it should.
No. Put the oil on your fingers.
Yeah.
You wipe it off. Move it a bit. It'll come back again.
Yeah.
So how do you fix that?
You need to just put 2 pins in.
Oh, okay.
2 hardened pins.
So how many people can one of these pull?
Depends how much grip you can get.
Okay.
Well, you would
Because
pull...
eventually the wheels will slip.
Right.
You just keep going.
So you pull people around on the weekend, though.
Yes. This would pull three
Carriages,
trolleys.
3 trolley pulls.
Three
Easy.
12, 13, 14 people.
Excellent. Wow. That's surprising. So that was a great meeting with John, Peter and Paul. Thank you very much, guys, for showing me around and sharing your love of the model trains. Well, that's it for this episode. Thanks for joining us on our adventure. Please do remember to click and subscribe to get reminders of when Sheepums gets around to approving a new video. And if you've enjoyed this video, please like it to help others find it. Sheepums does love to hear your feedback, so leave any comments and I promise to read them to him. If you'd like our videos and want to show your support, please consider donating to the Canal and River Trust or the Inland Waterways Association to help keep the canals thriving for future generations. Let us know in the comments if you've donated to support our channel. You'll find donation links in the text description for this episode on our YouTube channel and on our Narrowboat Expats Facebook page. In episode 5, we have the Shropshire Union Canal aiming for Ellesmere Port. I don't know how far we'll get in the episode. Drive to find out when Sheepums uploads it. Happy cruising!